Longhorns. It was fun to watch on Sunday, or Saturday. It wasn't fun to watch for most of the ball game, but really got fun. And that last 15 minutes and into overtime, Jack. I think that's the team that we voted preseason number 1 in the country. Right, that was the team that we thought about during the whole talking season. Was like, all right, this is what the Longhorns are going to be. They're going to be great defense. They're going to be high flying offense. Arch Manning throwing darts all over the field. That's really the team that our expectation has not been lived up to. And I don't think the Longhorns in their locker room have lived up to what they thought they could be, as it's been so clunky and the learning experience of a season. But that final 15 minutes and then overtime is exactly the recipe that made Texas a preseason number 1. That's the type of team they can be. All phases clicking, all cylinders firing. Everybody doing their part, and that's what it took to come back from 17 down. The third largest fourth quarter comeback in program history on Saturday to keep your hopes alive and get you to 6-2 and still just a 1-loss team in the SEC. And Horns at Half Pass brought to you by Dr. Greg Eckert. Here is Sark yesterday kind of recapping that game, looking forward to the Vanderbilt game from his Monday news availability. Here's Sark.
But all in all, it was a heck of a win. That's what championship teams have to do. You got to win games when maybe you're not supposed to, and you find a way to win it. And we were able to do that, outscoring them 31-7 in the fourth quarter and overtime, and scoring 24 unanswered points. And that takes complimentary football to get that done. So really proud of the guys for doing that. Really proud of the resiliency that they showed. Great games by Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke, and I touched on some of the guys on offense. So all in all, that was great. And that one's done now. That game's over, and this is a new week. It's a new team, new details, new plan. It's awesome to be back at DKR. 42 days ago on Saturday will be our last game at DKR. Can't wait for Longhorn Nation. I know our team is re-energized to be back at home. I'm sure our fans, our students are going to be re-energized to be back at home. It's an 11 a.m. kick, so everybody don't have too much fun on Halloween. All right, we'll celebrate after. You guys can have fun putting on your costumes after the game. But we're going to need you. We're going to need you at 11 a.m. and we're going to need to make this environment what it needs to be. Playing a very good Vanderbilt team. I think Clark Lee's done a tremendous job with this program. This team it plays like a team. They know their style of play. They minimize possessions. They huddle, they shift, they motion, they do a lot of different things offensively, but they limit your possessions. They're a very efficient offensive football team. And then conversely, defensively, they play really well. They play collectively together. They've got an elite field goal kicker. They've got an elite kickoff returner. So they're an all 3-phase team, and it's going to take all 3 phases to battle and compete. Obviously, the quarterback is the tip of the spear. He's one of the more competitive, players that I've competed against. He's their leading rusher. He obviously passes the ball. He makes plays at critical moments when they need to have it. And so he's a guy that he's getting all the praise that he's getting is well deserved. He's a very good football player, and I think one thing about playing quarterback, it's not always about the passes you throw. It's not always about the runs you make. It's about instilling belief in your teammates and instilling belief in your organization, instilling belief in your fan base. And I think Diego Pavia has done that for that program. And so all the credit in the world to him, all the credit in the world to Clark and the start that they've had to the season. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge for us. Looking forward to it. Like I said, I think we've got a re-energized team. Looking forward to getting back home at DKR.
All right, 6 weeks, 42 days from Saturday against Sam Houston State, where they walloped the Bearcats, to this game with Vanderbilt. And I think Sark said that well. I've said that for a long time, even when people weren't believing in Vanderbilt. I said, the first 4 games when I watched them, there's not a more complete and there's not a team in the country that knows exactly what their identity is than Vanderbilt. And because, Jack, they're so veteran, they're so old. I mean, I've given the number a lot with Vanderbilt. They have, there's 85 players on your roster. Yeah. Almost 50 of their players are either seniors, and most of those are fifth-year seniors or graduate players.
Yeah, they're like that Auburn basketball team from this March.
Yes. So, of course, they had their identity locked in September because these are all adults.
Yeah, they have wives and kids.
Yeah, and a lot of them are getting graduate degrees at a great school and probably taking a class or two. So that's where we are. That's what you got to beat. That you're more talented as far as 5 stars and ability and all that. That's why Texas, I guess, is favored by Vegas. But that's what you got to beat, and that's Bama's able to do it. But you'll look at the score of that Alabama game in Tuscaloosa a few weeks ago. That was their last road game, by the way. They lost. It was like 30-14 when the scoreboard dust settled. But man, that was a 20-14 game late. Diego Pavia had his team driving, trying to take a lead, and he turned the ball over in the red zone a couple of times, forced a fumble, and he had a tip drill interception that took points off the board. And then, when it was, still a one-score game-ish, Alabama was just trying to run out the clock, and I think it was 23-14 after one of those turnovers, and it separated with a long touchdown run when they were trying to run the clock out. But either way, they were right there with Bama, who's the best one, right there as the best team in the SEC right now. And then they turned around and beat LSU, beat Missouri this past week in a hard-fought game that went to the wire 17-10. They're not the most talented team, but they're the best team. Mm-hmm. They're the best team, and they were the best team early. They were galvanized early because Sark mentioned Diego Pavia brings the belief. Well, Clark Lee went and found Diego Pavia because Clark Lee is a Vanderbilt graduate, and he wanted when he came there from November. Clark Lee was at Notre Dame. Doing a great job with the defense there, and got the job. It was his alma mater, and he's like, I want to instill belief in this city and this program that we can not be losers. I mean, think about that at the time, Jack. Vanderbilt's like Rice, right, or Duke. I mean, it's just a great academic school. It's where he went and bled and played football, and said, how do I get this thing? So he started trying to turn you're a loser's mentality. We're not supposed to win. We'll try to be good in baseball. And that guy turned it and found Diego Pavia and said, I need somebody that can bring that. Now, he brought Diego Pavia as offensive coordinator and some other coaches from New Mexico State and said, this is the guy I need. Because Diego Pavia is the most confident and cocky kid I've ever been around. He'll help me instill the belief. And here they are, in year 5 for Clark Lee, and they've been top 10 in the country. And they're a good team. So this will be a fun one. Obviously, the big story is Arch Manning. Will he play? Won't he play? Sark did confirm yesterday that he's in the concussion protocol. Of course, he led that comeback, and he instilled belief in his team late in the game when he got hot at Mississippi State on Saturday, led him back, and then in overtime took the hard hit the turf, and suffered a concussion. He's in the protocol, didn't practice Monday. What does that mean for Saturday? Not sure. Remember Lenora Sellers, Jack, earlier this year for South Carolina was in the protocol coming out of a Saturday and actually played very well the following Saturday. It's really up to the independent neurologists of where Arch is. They won't put him back out there unless he's 100%. And obviously, the studies have shown if you have a concussion, you're more susceptible to a concussion if you don't let it completely get through it. And then because remember, Jack, the Longhorns have a bye week after Vanderbilt. There's a lot of thought that maybe, I'm sure there's conversation within the Mannings and Cooper Manning and his mom about, with a week off after, Matthew Caldwell becomes center of attention. Matthew Caldwell, who threw the unbelievable throw and catch to Emmett Mosley in overtime after Arch went out, won the Mississippi State game, made a great throw cold off the bench. Here's Sark on Matthew Caldwell. Did take the first team reps yesterday. First time he's done that at Texas. Remember, he came in post-spring practice from Troy. They felt like they needed a veteran quarterback in the room to go with Arch, who was making first year as a starter, KJ Lacey, the freshman, and Trey Owens, who's never started a game. So it's like, okay, we need a veteran. And they went and got and identified Matt Caldwell from Troy's, kind of like 22, 23 years old. And here's Sark on him getting the first team reps yesterday and what he brings to Texas if he does have to start.
Well, I think that the good thing for Matt, he's a very even-keeled guy. I thought he had a great practice today. I think the players have a lot of confidence in him. I think it's his maturity, his approach. He's very engaged even when he doesn't play. If you ever watched our sidelines in game, 18 is probably the most engaged player on that sidelines. He's always picking guys up, offense, defense, special teams. And so he's got a really good relationship with the guys. And so I don't think it's like, well, who's this guy? He's in a lot of faces a lot of the times. And so it felt very comfortable, felt very normal today. I thought the bigger thing for today was that KJ Lacey got reps with the twos. And I thought that was really good for him. He's a very talented player who's been growing and getting better. So it was fun for us to see him get more reps today.
KJ Lacey, of course, true freshman from the state of Alabama. He has taken over that third quarterback spot from Trey Owens, which, they really like KJ Lacey because I know they liked Owens. Remember, Owens had the big spring game, couple spring games ago.
The last spring game.
Well, the last time they played one, yes.
Final spring game.
They didn't play one this past year. They said a walkthrough thing. But yes, so Matt Caldwell, we'll get to know him this week. He very well may start the game, and I think they're going to be, your season on the line. Obviously, if Arch can go, he'll go. Lenore Sellers did it earlier this year. We don't know how severe it was, but again, it's a concussion. So you're going to be very careful with it. It's a head injury, brain injury. So, and with a week off the following week, there's going to be a lot of thought. Well, let's get him full 3 weeks from Saturday to the Georgia game. But either way, kid needs as much reps as he can get. But it's going to be Matt Caldwell until the protocols are cleared. So we'll keep an eye on that all week long. And obviously, it will become a centerpiece conversation. I think the offense can run just with Matt Caldwell, because not like Arch has been great. He's shown the ability. And one of the reasons, in addition to his experience, they went and got Matt Caldwell was he can run the same offense. He's got legs to him. We've seen him take off and run in a brief stint when we saw him earlier this year. He's got the playbook doesn't have to change at all. It would have to change, you would think, with a freshman or with Trey Owens, because Trey Owens can't take off and run and run the design quarterback runs and those kind of things, because that's where Texas is.